Welcome to another edition of the Weekly Files. On October 10, 2025, the Norwegian Nobel Committee announced that Venezuelan opposition figure Maria Corina Machado would receive the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize for her persistent advocacy of democracy and human rights in Venezuela. The committee cited Machado's tireless work promoting democratic rights for the people of Venezuela and her struggle to achieve a just and peaceful transition from dictatorship to democracy. She is now the first Venezuelan to receive a Nobel Peace Prize and just the sixth laureate from Latin America. Given the political climate in Venezuela, Machado accepted the honor in hiding. She has been living underground to protect her safety amid repression from the Maduro regime. The Nobel Committee also expressed uncertainty about whether she will be able to attend the award ceremony in Oslo on December 10th, dedication to Trump and political reverberations. In a striking move, Machado dedicated part of the prize to U.S. President Donald Trump, praising his decisive support for Venezuelan democracy. She posted on social media that the award belonged not to her personal achievement, but to the suffering people of Venezuela, alongside gratitude to Trump. Trump, who had publicly expressed a desire to win the Nobel Peace Prize and has been active in mediating ceasefires and conflicts globally, did not receive it this year. White House officials criticized the Nobel Committee's decision, accusing it of valuing politics over peace. Some analysts interpreted the choice as a subtle rebuke of authoritarianism and a signal about the committee's prioritization of democratic struggle over high-profile diplomacy. Machado's background and opposition work, Maria Corina Machado, has been a long-time figure in Venezuela's political and civic sphere. She co-founded the electoral monitoring group Sumate, served in the Venezuelan National Assembly from 2010 until she was ousted in 2014, and has remained a vocal critic of Nicolás Maduro's regime. In 2023, she secured overwhelming support in the opposition primary, but was later excluded from the 2024 presidential race by Venezuelan courts on claimed administrative grounds. Because of this exclusion, she backed an alternate candidate, Edmundo González, as a stand-in, signaling her refusal to accept institutional repression. Receiving the Nobel Peace Prize marks a dramatic recognition of her role as a symbol of resistance, especially given that the political environment in Venezuela makes public political activism extremely dangerous. What it means. Going forward, the award is likely to amplify scrutiny of the Venezuelan regime's tactics, offer greater international legitimacy to the democratic opposition, and potentially strengthen calls for accountability. However, Machado's ability to leverage the award is limited by her forced secrecy, the regime's repression, and geopolitical constraints. Her refusal or inability to attend the ceremony would put her alongside past laureates who could not appear for political reasons. Meanwhile, Trump's supporters and some U.S. officials have voiced strong dissatisfaction over the outcome, suggesting that the Nobel Committee's decision will become a talking point in U.S. and Venezuelan politics alike. ICE says it won't target Chicago Marathon, but some runners fear the worst. As the 2025 Chicago Marathon approaches, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, has reassured the public that its agents will not engage in enforcement operations targeting participants in the race. However, among immigrant and undocumented communities, anxiety remains high. Many runners continue to take precautions out of fear that ICE might still show up. ICE's assurance versus community concerns. ICE officials publicly declared they would not conduct enforcement actions along the route of the marathon. The agency emphasized that logistical constraints and safety considerations make active enforcement incompatible with the event's demands. Despite that, the announcement did little to allay fears in some immigrant communities. Runners shared that in past years, ICE has conducted operations near large gatherings, fueling mistrust about whether such a promise would hold under pressure. Some individuals are choosing to take extra precautions, such as avoiding certain neighborhoods, carrying identification, or running under aliases, because the possibility of detention still looms in the back of their minds. Why the fear persists. 1. History of ICE operations. In prior years, ICE has conducted operations near public events, sometimes catching communities off guard. That history feeds apprehension that promises may not hold in practice. 2. Ambiguities in enforcement policy. ICE's commitment not to enforce along the course is limited in scope and contingent on available resources, meaning exceptions could occur. Chilling effect on participation. Some runners said they've scaled back training, changed registered names, or considered withdrawing altogether. Decisions made from precaution more than expectation. New York Attorney General Letitia James indicted on fraud charges sparks accusations of political retaliation. In a dramatic turn in the political and legal arena, New York Attorney General Letitia James was indicted on October 9, 2025, on federal charges of bank fraud and making false statements concerning a 2020 property purchase in Norfolk, Virginia. The case has quickly become a flashpoint of controversy, as James and her allies contend the charges are an act of retaliatory politics orchestrated by President Donald Trump. The allegations in brief. According to the indictment, James misrepresented her intention to use the Virginia property as her personal residence when, in fact, she allegedly rented it out, thereby qualifying for a more favorable mortgage rate. Prosecutors claim she saved about $19,000 in interest through this misrepresentation. If convicted, James could face severe consequences, including having to vacate her office, though she remains eligible to seek re-election in 2026. Political undertones and context. What makes this case especially contentious is its timing and context. James had previously brought a high-profile civil fraud lawsuit against Donald Trump and his businesses, resulting in a multi-hundred-million-dollar ruling. Though an appeals court later voided the penalty on grounds of excessiveness, it upheld the determination that the Trump Organization committed fraud. James has vehemently denied the new charges, calling them politically motivated and part of Trump's broader campaign to use law enforcement as a weapon against critics. Her attorney, Abby Lowell, has asserted the indictment is retaliatory and devoid of merit. Critics and Democratic leaders have also raised alarms about the independence of the Department of Justice, suggesting that the rapid shift in prosecutors and the speed of the indictment reflect undue influence from the White House. A key point is that the federal prosecutor in the Eastern District of Virginia, a Trump loyalist who had not previously prosecuted major cases, presented the case soon after the dismissal of a veteran prosecutor who had resisted doing so. Next steps and implications. James is scheduled to appear in court on October 24th. Legal analysts expect a fierce defense, a prolonged legal battle, and a potentially wide-ranging debate over the use of prosecutorial power in U.S. politics. Meanwhile, the case is being watched as part of a broader pattern. Trump critics such as former FBI Director James Comey and Senator Adam Schiff have also faced legal scrutiny since Trump's return to power. For Letitia James, the stakes are enormous, politically, legally, and personally. If the charges hold, her ability to function as the state's top law enforcement official could be effectively curtailed. If they fail, the case could be seen as a cautionary example of how justice can be weaponized. Judge dismisses Drake's defamation suit over Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us. A federal judge in New York has dismissed Drake's defamation lawsuit against Universal Music Group, UMG, concerning Kendrick Lamar's 2024 diss track, Not Like Us. The feud between Drake and Kendrick Lamar escalated in 2024 when the two rappers exchanged diss tracks, with Lamar ultimately releasing Not Like Us. In that track, Lamar included provocative lyrics accusing Drake of being a pedophile, among other incendiary statements. Drake filed his original lawsuit in January 2025, targeting UMG, not Lamar directly. He alleged that UMG had promoted the song, effectively spreading a false and damaging narrative about him. He also expanded the suit later to include Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show performance and Grammy exposure, claiming those high-profile events further entrenched public belief in the allegations. The court's ruling, Judge Jeanette Vargas, ruled that the lyrics in Not Like Us constitute hyperbolic opinion, not verifiable factual statements. In her opinion, while the lyrics include serious-sounding accusations, the broader context of a heated rap battle, filled with boastful and figurative language, prevents a reasonable listener from interpreting them as literal truths. Vargas also dismissed as insufficient the use of doctored imagery in the song's cover art, such as a map overlaid with sexual offender markers near Drake's home, asserting that such visuals, combined with the lyrical style, did not cross into actionable defamation. In her written opinion, Vargas acknowledged that the accusation that plaintiff is a paedophile is certainly a serious one, but found that, in context, the song would not lead a reasonable listener to treat it as a factual assertion. Aftermath and reaction. UMG's response. The label welcomed the dismissal, defending the decision as a victory for artistic freedom and expression. Thank you for watching, but for now it is goodbye.